We are poor little lambs who have lost our way. Ba ba. That I take from the Black Sheep Squadron. Awesome television show from back in the day, man. You know, about a ragtag fleet of squadron of planes, and they went shooting people down. A lot of history, a lot of recent history, of course, revolves around the world wars and World War I, World War II. World War II more recent, so they focus on that a little bit more. But they were numbered for a reason. They were numbered because there were more to follow. So in this crazy old world of ours, and as you see what's transpired in the last 19 days, you know, we are talking about nuclear war, and we are talking about carnage and people perishing in the most unimaginable ways. In the United States of America and other civilized nations, we value our freedom, we value our peace and our privacy. And we fight for our rights as much as we can or as possible, right? In other countries, especially if you're like the Ukraine and you have your next door neighbor who just decides to move in. I mean, first they took land, Russian separatists went in, they took Crimea, they took a couple of other areas. And this happened without a bat of an eyelash from the UN or the US, the Pentagon, nobody. A couple of big blurbs of nothing, and we allowed it to happen. So now you see the carnage, you see what's going on in the Ukraine. And it's good to have a head for knowing what's going to happen. It's good to have an understanding for seeing the future, or at least the close enough future so you can make the proper decisions for you, yourself, your family, everybody, and survive. Because life is about survival. It's about survival from the time that you're born, kicking, screaming, and crying, till the time that you go out, kicking, screaming, and crying. It's that simple. And maybe most people don't go out kicking, screaming, and crying. That's the way I'm going to go. I don't want to be on some deathbed with cancer being eaten out alive. I'll blow myself up before that happens. I don't want to be that dude. I've seen it happen. I saw it happen to my mom, and it just sucks, man. And what do? Oh, yeah, you're screaming out in the hospital. Ah! Nobody wants to hear that. And the nurses and the doctors and everybody coming in, poking and prodding you. Do what? Just go. Just go. Oh, I got 2 weeks to live. Just go. Go with some dignity, right? Instead of sitting there. Oh, that's my, that's me. That's my take on it. Nobody gets out of here alive. You know, and it's not a terrible statement. It's a statement about life and how you live it. And life has a cycle like anything else. It cycles around and around. Those of you who understand the paranormal world understand that there's different levels and things, all kinds of stuff. Just like last week, I talked about the psychic Baba Vanya and how accurate she was and all that. And I just said that she said aliens were going to arrive to the Earth and attack the Earth, and they were going to arrive on with an asteroid. And the asteroid crashed into the planet the other day. They only knew about it 2 hours ahead of time, and now you got another one the size of a bus that's going to pass between the moon and the Earth. That's pretty close, man. So maybe they're taking the bus. I don't know. I know everything happens at once. So I expect everything to happen. Me personally, I mean, we've talked about that here on the show for how long? For a long time. The countdown, the clock, what was going to happen, whatever. Now you start seeing this big timeline, right? COVID gets released in China and then kills millions of people around the world, destroys economies. Well, now you have a country like Russia invading the country next to them for no good reason, calling them Nazis, if you can imagine that. What they're doing is they're committing it's a Holocaust situation. If you look up the definition of Holocaust, that's what that is. It's they're annihilating people. But how many people are sitting idly watching this happen in the United States has no leadership. You got Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. They don't understand what should have happened months ago when those troops were being massed on the border. And anybody who says, well, we're waiting to think if Putin's telling the truth or not, you're a moron. If you really think that this guy is going to say anything to the enemy, because we are the enemy to them, and Americans and Canadians and other people, people in England and whatever, France, are peace-loving people. We're peace-loving people, and we want other people to be peace-loving so bad we're willing to be stupid, and put all kinds of excuses on that. I can't stand people that make excuses for others and their actions. What people do is what they do, and it doesn't matter what the excuse is. It just matters what they do. You get that? So when it comes to this whole situation, when Biden says, "Oh, we're going to get involved in World War III, this is, if we get involved, it's already World War III. Putin started it. He started when he started attacking women and children with cancer and all that. That's outrageous to sit and see this and watch this, especially since we could have helped them with missile shields. We could have helped them indirectly. And if it was me, I'd have my CIA and other black ops organizations doing everything they could to mess Russia up right now. There'd be all kinds of stuff going on. But you could see how docile these politicians are and visibly shaken and scared, which is a terrible situation because others are also paying attention to this. So I expect the worst. So plan for the worst, hope for the best, right? Be ready to move and go do something, man. Do I think I don't even want to tell you what I think because it's it's not good. So you're going to remote view yourself, your own future, and I'm going to teach you how to do it right here on the show. So what is remote viewing? Okay. Now, remote viewing, let's say that the CIA had a program for remote viewing years ago. They definitely, you know what? They definitely had something going on with these amazing psychics that they used to map out. Let's say they mapped out Mars, they mapped out the moon, they mapped out other things. They, spied on Russia. Russia spied on us. For the same type of remote viewing. And Russia actually did it first, and then we had Operation Stargate, which is the one that lasted for years and years and years. And obviously they still have it running. Obviously they haven't abandoned the program because it works, and scientists have never been able to explain why it works. That's the cool part. When scientists don't know anything, when they're like, well, or it's really funny is that when they try to explain something with some BS excuse because they don't have an explanation and they don't want to look stupid by saying I don't know. But if you don't know something, you have to say I don't know. Otherwise, you definitely look stupid. You look arrogant saying, "Oh, I can never be wrong." So, I don't know. That doesn't exist, right? So, what is remote viewing? So popularly known as extrasensory perception, ESP, is the ability of human beings and animals, because it all comes down to what is believed to be the pineal gland. The pineal gland, very prized, especially by Egyptians all the way back through, had known about the pineal gland, had actually made monuments to it. So they valued it, in some kind of in some fashion. And then, most animals on the planet also have a pineal gland. It's just interesting to know. So when you're looking at your little dog and he's looking at you and you guys are kind of talking to each other and you know what each other means, maybe it's not just what you say, what you do, or your facial expressions. It's that maybe it's that pineal gland, how people connect, how people can connect far away, right? Like the internet, but in your brain. So but it's the ability for the human being to perceive information and imagery and remote geographical targets, things like that. Advanced practitioners of India yoga system is well acquainted with Divya Drishti, right? So this whole deal, let me tell you, in Taoism, Lao Tzu said, the future is like a flowery trapping, like using the Tao to know the future is like a flowery trapping. You can use it, you can see it, it can be there. He said it's like a veil barely seen, but it's there, right? And we're going to talk tonight about the show How to Remote View, and I'm going to give you a whole bunch of pointers on from beginning to end, things that you can practice with. And I'm not condoning this. I'm not telling you to go do this, but there are many people who use remote viewing to go gamble. I never heard from them ever again. So maybe either they got knocked off by the mob or they got whatever. I don't know. Or they got rich enough to take off. You know, I had an uncle, my uncle Ted, one of my grandmother's brothers, great uncle, who used to be a scientist, and he left science and he decided to be this card counter in Vegas and Monte Carlo and all that. He got banned. He got banned from all these places because he was so good. That's the thing. If you can count through cards, why would they ban you? I mean, you're not cheating. You're using an ability to win, just like poker. If you know how to bluff people or how to keep that poker face, right? You're using your abilities to win. And I'm not a gambler per se. I do get the feeling about the certain scratch ticket now and I win, and then I don't buy anymore. I just kind of leave it where it is. Don't know what kind of damage I could do in Vegas, but it really comes down to me thinking about that. First of all, it'd be kind of funny, but it'd be funny to go there and do the remote viewing and actually document it, see if it actually does work, but or works for anybody. Like have remote viewing like classes in Vegas and charge people a couple $100 to sit in the class and teach them how to remote view. Pull that. You know what? Let's just say this. I'm a firm believer that time overlaps itself, and if that is true, we can have a window into the short term future, maybe even long term, depending, right? And it's going to happen in waves. Everything in this universe happens in waves, radio waves, and the whole bit, waves. So to understand that and be able to know what those numbers are going to be or get that feeling for what's going to hit next, or you're walking past some kind of slot machine and you're feeling like it's going to hit. It's that feeling. Why would you get that feeling unless you're some compulsory gambler? I mean, there are people that have really unhealthy addictions, drugs, gambling, food, even, everything. I mean, anything in excess is bad, right? So it's hard to deal with hardcore addicts. Not as much the food, but more the gambling, the drugs, and that type of thing, because those people are always scheming for cash, and they're not really a trustworthy sort, right? So let me say this: during the Cold War years, and I think we're back to the Cold War again. We definitely are. I don't even know if it ever ended, honestly. The USA and the Soviet Union were known to have spied on each other. Using different services of psychic remote viewers with, different gathering different intelligence information, military, that type of thing, and they did other missions too for remote viewing. So, but the two were complementary components to the U.S. remote viewing program. So, the background to remote viewing, right? All right, let's get. I'm not going to go too far into this because there's a lot of history to remote viewing. You just need to know it's been around for a while. Okay, so let's see. Extrasensory perception, ESP, the term coined by pioneering parapsychology researcher J.B. Rhine in 1934. Students of Indian yogic lore are, however, well acquainted with it. Let's see, the classic work in Yoga Sutras, 400 BC, describes the first of the Ashla Siddhis, or psychic powers, that is a serious practitioner of yoga and can acquire as obtaining knowledge of the small, the hidden or distant, by directing the light of superphysical faculty, right? So Russ Targ has commented that the techniques used by the US viewers for looking into the distance and the future are strikingly similar to the detailed instructions given in the Yoga Sutra. Of course, where do you think that they got it from? Do you think that the CIA, those guys, create anything? I mean, these people take what they want. If it's a patent, they take it. If it's a thing or alchemy, they take it. They go through all that. Hitler was the one out there looking for all artifacts and getting deep with psychics and the whole bit. Hitler had employed Baba Vanya. So did a whole bunch of Russian czars. Obviously they saw something in what the blind psychics said. So laboratory investigations of remote viewing, systematic scientific investigation of telepathy and ESP had been carried out in the US by J.B. Ryan and his associates during the 1930s, 1940s at Duke's University using a set of five Zener cards. So you might see that, like on the Ghostbusters, if you see how the guy was like putting cards up on one side, holding up a card, and asking the person on the other side of the table what that card is. And one has a circle, one's got a square, some wavy lines. I mean, you're going to be right on a variable basis. If you're not psychic, but if you are psychic, you can be right to a high degree. And they still use this to test people. So the testbed trials. In the course of their investigations, the SRI researchers identified at least six star performers with extraordinary inborn remote viewing talent. While the names of some of them have been revealed, others are only identified by code numbers. Right, and they have all the code numbers for people. It doesn't really matter. Some of them became known, obviously, since this is almost 100 years ago. So I want to get past all of this. All right? The reality is, these were the people that were already good at what they were doing. They had the natural aptitude, had gone far. And when it comes in the world of development, we all have developmental, hurdles to get over. If when we're learning things, some people are better than others. Some people are born to things. And then you get also the whole reoccurring life thing, past life. How do you think these little kids are born, understanding how to play the violin or the piano at 3 years old, like a master? You think that just happens in their brain? It just happens, or do you think it's something that a talent that they had in their past life and they brought it over? So that's a whole nother show right there. In fact, there's a kid now, 3 years old, that's out there, with a whole bunch of info his mom's come out with. He remembered his past life and the whole bit, and very, very sure of who he was as an adult. 3 years old, telling his mom all these stories. Pretty cool. So the conclusion of science against, okay, does remote viewing work? The conclusion of science is that, well, yeah, it does, but we can't explain why. And those are the scientists who are like open and honest. I think that out of all the tests and all the stuff, and beyond tests, the best thing to do to test a medium or a psychic is to test them, not with cards either, to test them in real situations and see what they can gather, and then go further and further, right? But they've used it in the military, they've used it for all kinds of projects, and then for years and years and years, and still. So there's no scientific research saying why it's happening, right? The only thing that's been verified scientifically is that the ability remarkably is accurate, and it's accurate enough, in fact, for the government to invest millions upon millions of dollars and using it in the field for over 30 years. So that's interesting stuff, right? So let's talk about how to do it, you know? How to do it. How do you experiment with remote viewing? How do yeah, people think about money. That's all people think about, money and sex. Nobody else thinks about anything. You think, oh, I got to go to work. Yeah, because you need money. Otherwise, your wife won't have sex with you. Like, that's kind of what the deal is. Money and sex and money, and everything that those two can provide. So, I mean, if people are conjuring things up, that's what they're going to conjure up. Oh, I want to get this girl. I'm going to use a remote technique and get a hold of her, project myself in her brain while she's sleeping. And then she'll say, oh, I can't stop thinking about you. Yeah, right. Does that happen? That's visualization too. Visualization is a very powerful tool. Artists, all kinds of people, performers, comedians, stage performers, use visualization, because you can create the things that you want. You can kind of have that mental dress rehearsal as what goes on, right? So, all right, this is the deal. It'll take you about, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 hours to really understand the practice behind remote viewing, right? If you're into it, I mean, these are the things that you do. So your first decisions, first thing you decide who will be the viewer, the person who actually does the remote viewing, which would be you, and who's going to be the sender, the person who transmits the information to the viewer. You create the targets. You have a third person who will not be involved in the remote viewing experiment. You select 15 to 20 possible targets, the places the viewer will remote view. All right. So the targets must be actual places, preferably within driving distance. This third person should write down details about each target on an index card. Information should include key features of the site, landmarks, geographic features, structures, and directions, right? The more details, the better. Three, you secure the target. The third person should place each target card in its own unmarked opaque envelope, right? And you seal all the envelopes. Four, you choose the target. Have a fourth person randomly select one of the target envelopes and give it to the viewer. So then you plan a time, decide on a span of time that the actual experiment will begin and end. For example, let's say you choose to begin 10 a.m. and then end at 11 a.m. From this point, the sender and the viewer should have no contact until the experiment is over. Number six, you open the envelope in a place separate from the viewer. The sender should open the envelope and, for the first time, find out what the target location is. The sender should then go to the location planning to be there and start the time. See, this is very involved. After this, I'm going to tell you how to do it easily. But I wanted to go over. A lot of people like to go over the long form. And this is the long form. So now you have the viewer preparation. Before the start time, the viewer should prepare by being in a quiet, comfortable location, as for a few distractions as possible. You dress comfortably, naked if you want, disconnect the phone or turn off the cell phone, and go to the bathroom to avoid any possible interruptions. Go to the Oval Office. That's where most people do their deep, heavy thinking on the dunny. You get as relaxed as possible on the toilet, which could be interesting, and you try some breathing exercises. I don't know if I'd like to do some deep breathing in the bathroom. It really depends. Start, start saying, go to the bathroom. I'm remote viewing. I'm sorry. What do you see? I don't know. Brown cloud. I see a brown cloud. God damn it. Well, what is it? It smells really bad. I don't know, man. Maybe a garbage dump, or I just see a lot of brown and stinking bad. There's water close by. I don't know. Maybe something like a fountain. I don't know. Number nine, you start viewing. At the agreed time, the viewer should be totally relaxed and be sitting comfortably with paper, pencil, or pen. Write down the impressions that come across, draw the shape seen, note the color, and smell the impressions. God damn it. Smell it. Put your nose right to it. Number 10, notes. Before the experiment is over, the sender should also jot down notes about specifics of the target location, perhaps in the bathroom, perhaps even photos. This image is coming over that Don's sitting on the toilet. Yeah, oh, weird. He's reading a newspaper. All right. 11, ending the experiment. At the end of the agreed time, the viewer should sign and date all the notes and drawings made. These are then given to another person, the judge. After the experiment is done, the viewer's notes and sender's notes of photos of any kind should be handed over to the impartial person. the judge who will act as a judge. The judge will compare the notes of the sender and uh, and the viewer to determine how successful the remote viewing was. 13, the verdict. Finally, all persons can gather together to hear the judge's opinion, view the materials, and find out if the person's a good remote viewer or not, right? And you plan another experiment. Then you share your success. So, how's this? Let's get rid of that. This is the deal. So, if you want to practice remote viewing, and I've told people this before who asked me, so I've talked about this before lots, right? I think that the best way to do it is to have just trial and error and strengthen your abilities. You need to, if you want to have a friend help you, it's important, yeah, because it's good to have two people to know if that person's impartial and they're gonna, you know, maybe choose some materials that you don't know and they're going to kind of send that to you or have you remote view. So what's the deal? Is it people tapping into that pineal gland when these experiments happen? And then, yeah, I'm not saying that you can't remote view in a situation like that, but then aside from remote viewing, you also have a psychic connection with those people. And if they're really well known to you, it's going to be a strong, strong connection, right? So I would say you have that friend just take a magazine and take pictures out of a magazine, pictures, places, whatever, and put it in several different envelopes. Letter the envelopes A to Z, whatever, or 1 to 10, whatever the hell you need, and then have that person try to find out, on what's going on in those envelopes and describe to you the situation. And that's a really good way of teaching remote viewing and strengthening your skills because it's a skill. We're born with all these things and everybody's got some kind of level of sensitivity, so it really comes down to you and what you want to remote view, I guess. If you want to go to Vegas and be the star, that's one thing. I'm not saying that's going to happen for you, but I think that I just like the science behind the not knowing. I love it when scientists fall to their knees saying, we don't know. I love it. Because for so many years we've heard weather balloon. For so many years we've heard these stupid examples, like the alien battle that happened over Nuremberg, Germany in 1561. And scientists these days say it was a celestial event. It was sunspots. It was a sun pillar, sunspots. And how they know was what happened over what 500 years ago, almost. You know, I mean, it's just funny how they can say, "Oh, I don't know," but the people of the time definitely walked outside, looked up in the sky, and saw these discs attacking each other in the sky with little beams of light coming out of them, and then a big, large arrowhead shaped one shows up. The other little discs all fly away with that thing, and then they basically blamed it on Jesus. They blamed it on religion. God was angry, and that's why they saw that. They didn't think it was sunspots, and I have pictures of sun pillars, all that stuff. It looks nothing like an alien battle in the sky. And the same type of thing happened over Switzerland not long later. So, if you want to believe in extraterrestrials, and I do, because I don't think we're the only life in this universe for sure. You'd have to be pretty ignorant to think that. But and people do, people do. But in the same sense, you have to have no kind of understanding for things that may not be written in your book. Things that you may not quite understand and wrap your head around. So then you make things up. So if you look through all the tests, for instance, with remote viewing and you know visualization included, this has been going on for thousands of years, you know, and they've used this, to help civilizations compete against one another. If you think about it, right? So that brings us to visualization. Visualization, seeing it. So some people visualize negative stuff all the time. This bad thing's gonna happen to me. I know, I'm feeling it, man. Here it's coming. Oh, and bad things always happen to those people. They always have freaking problems. You ever know somebody who has problems like all the time, like all the time, and every time you talk to them, it's just a drag back and forth to talk to them because they're always freaking negative, so negative, and they always have some problem. It's never good. Nothing's ever good with them, and they're always or always asking for help. Help me, help me, help me. I need help. I don't help anybody that's helpless. You can't. It's just a waste of your resources, time, and energy, everything. You help your friends when they need a helping hand. Hell yeah, but you don't help people that are always got their hand out. They need help helping themselves, right? You have the old saying, "God helps those who help themselves." That's what you should say in church when they ask you for money. You know what I mean? When the collection plate goes around, or when your rabbi or whoever says they need money, you just say, God helps those who help themselves. Now, piss off. I need my money. I'll give you a coupon for tacos at Taco Bell, the Taco Tuesday. Yeah, yeah. Come on, man. I have famous sayings that I have saved in my brain. That one from Andrew Cuomo. I'm going to use that one day. I only lied to protect the truth. I love that. That made me speechless. That's just something that I can hear being spoken in court. I only lied to protect the truth. Thank you. Thank you. And you drop the mic and leave. Yeah. So anyway, uh, all right, so the practice of visualization has even given some high achievers what seems like superpowers, helping them create their dreams and lives by accomplishing one goal or task at a time with hyper focus and complete confidence. In fact, we all have this awesome power, but most of us never have been taught to use it effectively. So there are athletes that use it, there are actors that use it, there's all kinds of people who are successful, there are business people who are successful that use it. You know, and it's an important thing to understand. You have to understand, chance favors the prepared mind. If you are prepared to go into battle, you're likely going to win. Because usually the country that attacks the other country is stronger and it knows it has the resources to do what it's going to do. Then the one who gets attacked is on the defensive, and they use their resources to fight. And once those resources are gone, they get clobbered, right? Which we're seeing actually now. So, all right. So, using visualization techniques to focus on your goals, right? And desires, a very important thing in life. Lao Tzu said, "Watch out for desire. Desire is a dragon, fire breathing dragon. Desire can lead you down a bad path." As he said, actually, he said, "There's no greater curse than desire." So, all right. So, visualization, it activates your creative subconscious, which will start generating creative ideas to achieve your goal. It programs your brain to more readily perceive and recognize the resources you'll need to achieve your dreams. I'm always talking about neurological linguistic programming, NLP, and then the value of learning NLP and how to kind of squelch out the bad stuff in your head and keep in the good stuff, right? So, visualization also activates the law of attraction, thereby drawing into your life the people, resources, and circumstances you need to achieve your goal. I got friends saying, "Oh, all these women I date are toxic and they're nasty." And I'm like, well, what are you doing to attract that? What is it about them that is attractive to you? So, I mean, these are questions that once you start asking yourself these questions and going down the list, the truth comes out very quickly, and what your shortfalls may be, right? So, visualization also builds your internal motivation and takes the necessary action to achieve your dream. It's quite simple. You sit in a comfortable position, you close your eyes and imagine in as vivid detail as you can what you would be looking for in a dream, and what you have already realized. So, imagine being inside of yourself, looking out through your eyes. At the ideal result, you see what you're doing. You're the best. You're the brightest. You're the most perfect person. Boom. To you, to you because you live in your own life. It's kind of like people out there that like to give you advice. You know, the people that give advice are always the most effed up people on the planet. Because I know, I give a lot of advice. I do a lot, and you have to walk the walk and understand the world to do stuff like that. And but really, no one can give you advice because you're in your own skin, you're in your own body, you're in your own situation. If they have a similar situation, it still has nothing to do with you. Even if it's part of it similar, still has nothing to do with you. You have to live your life every day. So no one can tell you what to do, how to do it, and that type of thing. You just have to. It's objective. What do you like? What do you want? What kind of success do you want? And then aim for those goals. Oh, you want to set a goal for yourself. You want to make $1,000 a week. So then shoot for two or three. Think about the things that you can do to get to that point. You want to be able to elevate and you want to be able to move through freely and not be dogged down by somebody's shit testing because there's other people who are miserable who need to shit test you all the time, whether it's a family member, whether it's a friend, whether it's just some douchebag you see in the store. It doesn't matter. They do it, right? So don't let people do that to you. Put up a wall when they start moving in that direction, right? So how's this? First, you got to think about your confidence and your paranoia. Yeah. So on one hand, you got your confidence. The confidence is going to tell you you're drop dead gorgeous, sexy, you're the best, the smartest, you can do anything, you're the best at everything, right? Then you get your paranoia, who says you're fat and you're ugly, you don't know shit, and you're going to die soon because what's that spot on your face? And oh my God, you're a loser, right? So now I visualize because of NLP, I actually chose people, humans, to be my confidence and my paranoia, which I failed at first because I used my ex as the paranoia. Oh, too powerful, too evil, too strong. Even the devil would have been a hell of a better choice. Hell of a better, you know. So now I use my grandmother on mother's side because she was truly paranoid. She was someone who was always afraid of everything, always worried about everything, and no, whatever. She was just not the person who took chances, right? But my confidence is the Rock, you know, and you see him out there, big muscled up dude, bald and whatever. He seems like he can handle a lot, man. But he's the one who says go for it. He's the one who tells me I get to do this. Not that, oh, here's a task that I have to do. Here's something that I get to do, right? That's the deal. Your confidence and your paranoia. Yeah. So here we go. Going through the mental rehearsal, right? So step one, you want to imagine yourself in a movie theater with the dim lights. The lights are dim, a little smell of popcorn, people talking on their cell phone that you want to beat over the head with your big giant candy bar. And then the movie starts. It's a movie of you doing perfectly whatever it is that you want to do. Masturbation. See as much detail as you can create, including your clothing, the expression on your face, small body movements, the environment, and any other people that might be around. Add in any sounds you would be hearing, traffic, music, other people talking, cheering. And finally, recreate in your body any feelings you think you would be experiencing as you engage in this activity. Now, that's interesting because feelings is a big part of the paranormal world. Emotion, how people feel, how they felt, what still exists even though their body is gone, but what exists on that level, right? Your feelings, your emotions. So if you can, just like people who burn sage, saying they cleaned out an apartment of bad spirits and whatever, do you actually think burning sage is going to get rid of some bad spirits? That's the person doing it feeling like they are, and it's causing them to have good energy that emits out of them, which pushes away the bad energy. It's very simple. So really, like these trinkets have very little to do with the afterlife or the before life or anything that happens like that, right? So you want to be able to feel those feelings and put yourself in that mindset, right? So step three, you walk back out of the screen. It's still showing the picture. Like don't leave the movie because it's yours. That'd be the worst. So I gotta go take a leak. Gotta go get some more popcorn, man. Yeah, it's my movie. I know what happens. I know how it ends, kind of, maybe. But then you run back and return to your seat in the theater. You reach out and grab the screen and you shrink it down to the size of a cracker. Then you bring this major screen up to your mouth and you chew it up and swallow it. You're eating your own movie. Imagine that each tiny piece is just like a hologram and it contains the full picture of you performing well. Imagine all these little screens traveling down in your stomach and out to your bloodstream, and then you poop it out and it's gone. This thing's kind of crazy. In NLP, when something bad is going on, you're having a bad memory, bad thought, it plays in your head. You say, play it in your head like a movie. Then, as it's playing and as you're seeing the scene go, you dim the screen and you throw lines in it like it's distorted. There's some snow coming through. You distort the sound, and it goes psh, and you shrink it down and shrink it down. Then on a separate screen, you take a really great memory, something beautiful, and then you put that in there and you grow it and you get that warmth and that feeling. And then the other feeling is going, gone. This other one takes over. And then that's the stuff that drives you, those good feelings and good emotions. That's what drives you. You feel bad because somebody died in your life? I do. My mom passed away. She wouldn't want me feeling bad for her, but I do because I do. How could you not? I'm feeling more bad for me because she's not with me anymore. You know what I mean? And if you've ever experienced loss on that kind of level, it's these are hard thoughts to get out of your head, especially when you have people around you trying to, or what they call it, or give you a reality check. That's what you want to do. Reality check people who are like morbidly depressed. When they start feeling better, you start feeling better about yourself a little bit and rising up. And here comes someone with their reality check, reminding you of negative stuff that went on, which brings you back down again. Say those people. That's interesting to me. Yeah, well, the motivation. That's interesting. So you want to be able to create those good images. You want to be able to create those visual pictures, the sound, the smell, everything that's going to bring you to that fantastic moment in your life. And it doesn't matter what it was. It doesn't matter where it was. It could even be a 15-second spot, just a little chunk of something brilliant, something great, or an achievement something you're really proud of, that you achieved, and really it resonated all through you. Those are the good feelings. Those are good emotions. When you deal with a narcissist, narcissism is a trait of a psychopath. And when you're dealing with narcissists, they want to evoke every negative emotion. And if you love someone, if you care for someone, they want to run them down too. They want to be able to knock you down and take you down and keep you down, because that's their pleasure. It's for no other reason. It's not like they're doing it as a job. It's not like they're doing it to create something good. They're messed up people. And that's their pleasure, is to hurt other people. It's their pleasure. If you hook up with someone who's a narcissist, man, the first thing you got to do is run the other way. And it's easy to see it when they put you on the defensive, you know, they put you on that defensive right away, where just like a war, and they're attacking you, and you're in love, you're all lovey-dovey, whatever, in that relationship, and they're coming at you, they are smiling at you. Then they ask you about your childhood, any kind of shortfallings, any kind of time where there was a lot of heavy drama or anything that affected you negatively. It's funny. And then you love to tell them because you think that they actually have compassion and they care. Guess what? They're just collecting ammunition. They don't care, because those are the things that you hear later on when they're going after you. And they say these terrible things to you and they evoke stuff. They weren't even there for that stuff. It's something that you told them because you were sharing with them. Yeah, that's not something that's good to do. You can't trust people on that level. That's just the sake of it. You can't trust people on that level because they will stab you in the heart with that information. They will hurt you. They will drag you down. I was in a relationship with a narcissist, and I know exactly the feelings and the terrible, terrible. I'll tell you, even 3 o'clock in the morning, I had to sleep in a separate room after a while because I couldn't handle it because she'd be banging me on the head in bed, saying that I was snoring, right, punching me on my skull, boom, 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 waking me up. You're snoring. I bet I wasn't. I bet I even wasn't because she's the one that snored, right? And her room clearing farts. That was also interesting, man. It wasn't very feminine. I'll say that there. So I'd sleep in my office, which there was a futon. It was 3 o'clock in the morning. She'd be sending me texts, especially when my mom had cancer, when she first got cancer. And, I had to rush her to the emergency room in the middle of the night multiple times. So I had to keep my cell phone on and I had to keep the volume on. So I told my ex, don't text me in the middle of the night because she would text me at like 2 and 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning of what a horrible person I was or whatever random thought was going through her brain at that point, right? Wake up and send me these huge long texts. So I'd get them, pating, and I'd say, don't do it. First of all, we're in the same house. Second of all, I'm trying to sleep. Third of all, I'm trying to keep the phone open for my mom. And I'm a light sleeper. So wake up. Did that work? Did that help? Did she care? Did she care my mom had cancer? Did she care? No. Narcissists don't care. She didn't even care about her own kids and whatever happened to them and stuff that she was doing to them, the mental games that she was playing with them, you know? So I'll tell you about that. Run the other way. Run the other way. The second you start feeling that chill, just go because you can't change people. I wanted her to get help, and it was about getting, help for her anger and her problems and whatever. Her own mother said that she believed she was undiagnosed bipolar. I had a friend who worked in a girls' center for people like that. He said she had all the characteristics of that. But I'm not trying to diagnose people. I'm just saying how she affected others in her life, her family that wouldn't talk to her anymore, all the people around except her dear close personal friends, which she saw once or twice a year or even spoke to once or twice a year. And I don't know what kind of friend that is because your friends are supposed to be in your life and know you well. But anyway, man, stay away from narcissists because you'll waste a lot of your life, a lot of your time. So anyway, you have to live in the moment, brothers and sisters. Although the daily practice of visualization is vital, we don't need to spend all day thinking about our goals, do we? Because you need that bubble gum for the brain. You got to find out what's going on between Kim and Kanye, man. So you tune into the Red Pill News on Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, and then you find out what's going on out there in the world. The real story, taking the red pill. But on this show, Discovery Paranormal, I think we got into this. I hope you guys learned a little bit, at least got your interest in visualization. So try it. Try it. Try it and tell me how it went for you because I'm interested. I will see you guys next week on this here show. If the world is still here, we'll still be here on UPRN. I'll see you even if it's not. I'll still be here. Joe and I one day will just be brains in a jar, and that's it. Brains in a jar. So I'll see you guys next week on this here show. Bye.